here every time. Today we're going to be talking about the lottery. So the lottery happened like 2, 3 nights ago. And we're going to go over some guys that we think would fit well on certain teams. This did require a bit of research that I was not necessarily, I didn't know a lot about these guys, but I will say I know a lot more about them now. I'm not perfect on this knowledge. None of us really are. There's a lot of uncertainty with these guys, especially with March Madness not getting played.
Beach had a little bit of background information.
Yeah, we were talking about it in the Xbox party the other night, but one thing I've learned to enjoy as being a fan of a lottery team for the last 3 years is draft, like kind of scouting and stuff like that for each like draft class. But one thing about this draft that's a little bit different is there's not like that number one guy who's kind of, because last year we had Zion, and before that we had Aiden. And those are kind of like the guaranteed number one guys. Like we all expected those guys to go number one. But this year's a little different. There's not really the clear cut number one guy. So yeah, it should definitely be pretty interesting to see what you guys think.
I like that a lot. I think that having a clear number one guy doesn't ruin, but it takes away from the whole drafting process, because like it's entertaining to watch these guys get picked. Like surprises happen, steals.
There's shock value in it, because kind of we all knew that, like the top 3 picks were last year was going to go Zion, Ja, RJ, and it was kind of like we all knew that for like months going into it. And then once you get in like the 4 and later, like you get into like Darius Garland, and nobody really that's
it's
a little less I would say.
Yeah, I just enjoy that part of it.
Personally, I was more than okay with the predictability of us getting Zion.
Even though he's the second best player in the draft.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't win the lottery, because if we won the lottery, we would have had Zion. I would much rather be with Ja, having him.
I'm not kidding. Right now, I think Ja is a better future prospect than Zion.
Okay,
that's a different discussion. Yeah, I was about to say.
As Archer likes to say, it's for another pod.
Yeah,
for another pod.
So sorry I keep looking over here. I've actually got like a list of players going on. But one guy that's been talked about, I guess we'll just kick it off, is a potential number one pick is Anthony Edwards, especially recently. I feel like I've heard his name more. He's out of Georgia. He's like 6'5", 225. He's pretty athletic. He's not the best shooter in the world. I personally, he looked incredible in the highlights of his highlights.
Yeah, he really does.
Who doesn't look good in their highlights?
Bro, nah. Edwards has something about him that makes him look so much better in his highlights.
He's just so athletic. But one thing I read is that he's got motor issues, is what I've heard. At least that's alleged. It's not like, he could come to the NBA and just be a grinder everywhere, get some sort of inspiration. But that would be the one thing that I'm very worried about, because to me, at least, it doesn't look like in Minnesota, they've had issues with guys going there, especially Jimmy Butler, and being like they don't work hard enough. To add another guy like that, I don't know if that's really in the cards for Minnesota. I feel like they got to get a guy that, kind of has a chip on his shoulder. I don't think they should get a guy that's not going to be working hard. Of course, no team wants a guy that's not going to work hard, but I just feel like they have guys like Karl Anthony Towns, and just feel like the general vibe over there is that they're not really giving their all the time. And I want a guy.
I guess a little bit. I think the D'Lo Cat, the fact that there's more chemistry between them off the court and on the court, and they've played together, that's really important. And I think if Edwards does get picked number one, he's going to be really good in Minnesota. Just from a fit, like his mindset is one of the, I was watching some interviews of him before, and he seems really dedicated. Like, he's not going to be a guy that slacks off. He's going to go into the gym. He's going to be motivated to get better every day. Like, I know you can say that about a lot of draft prospects, but he really seems to be locked in.
Really? I read an article that said the exact opposite.
I thought his mindset and the way he carried himself were they were telling of somebody who wants it,
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, no one knows him like himself. So
exactly.
You're probably right. I would just say that is a concern amongst people looking at the draft. I could be totally wrong. I read one article and you saw an interview.
Yeah, well, I only watched 2 or 3 interviews, so I could be wrong too.
But he's also not going to come out and say, I don't work as hard as him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you're the number one pick. That's not like. I mean, I guess that could be sort of an issue, but I kind of really don't see the Timberwolves really passing up on Anthony Edwards, kind of with the number one pick. I could also see Lamelo getting picked. We'll talk about Lamelo a little later. I think Anthony Edwards is the best player in this draft. I think he's my favorite prospect. He's coming out of Georgia. He's only 18 years old. He had a really solid freshman season at Georgia, playing against like other SEC teams, looking good. He's widely regarded as a top 3 player in this draft this year. He does have really good length, like you say, he's 6'5", 225. He's pretty sure he's got like a 6'9" wingspan, which is pretty good size for a shooting guard.
Really good one.
He's got some elite athleticism. He just got the complete scoring package. He's such a good defender too. That's really what the Timberwolves are lacking. D'Angelo Russell, definitely not known for defense. Same with Karl Anthony Towns. So adding in another guy like Anthony Edwards, who's got such defensive upside and just such a virtual scoring set, skill set scoring wise, is just going to be really nice for him. So it's kind of filling in that last hole. I wouldn't say the last hole. They could use a lot more perimeter, depth, but it's definitely a great step in the right direction for a very solid, young, up-and-coming Minnesota Timberwolves team. He's kind of like the third piece, making up that big 3 in that core. So I would really like to see him go to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he kind of does remind me. He kind of reminds me of like a Victor Oladipo kind of guy.
A little bit, like Bradley. Well, not Bradley Beal, but kind of.
Just with his I think he's got upside to be an all defensive first team player. He's just got so much defensive IQ. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, his potential is off the charts.
That's high praise right there. I mean, yeah, his potential is fantastic, but that is very high praise. But I mean, honestly, from what I saw, it could be a realistic. He's one thing that I think people like sleep on. Like, yeah, efficiency-wise, his 3-point shot isn't crazy.
Yeah, he's pretty inconsistent.
He's an inconsistent 3-point shooter. Obviously, he needs to work on that. But, like, the most important 3-point shots are at the end of the game, and he's showcased through highlight videos from games they've won on his play in the fourth quarter alone. He turns it on and literally carries his team. Like, that Georgia team he played for was ass. Like, they were not good. From what everything I saw, again, granted, I just did a little bit of research for like an hour before this, but he really carried them to most, if not all, their wins. His range too is crazy. I mean, he's pulling up from like 4 feet from behind the 3-point line to win the game. I mean, he's got confidence.
He's got the confidence. That's a big thing, especially if you're projected to go this high. But I would agree with you, Archer. His biggest knock against him is kind of he's a very inefficient scorer. Like he's taking some poor shots, he's forcing shots up to play a big role in that. His shot selection is, it's not great. He could definitely learn the game a little bit more, but a lot of guys coming into the league are in that same boat. But I think a huge thing that we missed out on was March Madness. I know somebody mentioned it, but that's when a lot of players like Dante DiVincenzo probably would not have gone as high. He went 15th.
He might not have even gotten drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he might not have without that Villanova.
John Morant to like Murray State and that NCAA, like that was a big reason
that
he got
definitely upped his stock too. Just showing that you play on the big stage. So who knows, like what kind of other guys would have jumped out. And we could have another like just completely random guy just come out of nowhere in March Madness, which really sucks for those guys.
Yeah.
Especially like the seniors. But if we want to move on, who do you guys want to talk about next? If you guys don't have anything else to say about
I don't have anything, Peyton. I didn't
have anything else about Anthony Edwards. But let's go on to one of the more controversial guys, Lamelo Ball. Obviously, he's got 2 brothers. Lonzo's currently on my dad's side to a degree. I'm not going to let this bias affect. Lamelo, though, pretty bad shot IQ. I think that's always been an issue. Clearly confident, though. I mean, that's the upside. Bad shot IQ. Clearly confident. He's loaded with potential. He's got great size, especially for a point guard. He's got a pretty good handle, really good vision. A lot of the same stuff his brother has, but plus a couple inches.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy.
I will say he doesn't have the speed and athleticism Alonzo has, but it's not like he's unathletic. Really? He definitely has bounce. Just super, honestly, just size-wise is off the charts. His potential, honestly, is insane. He's like a 2K like glitch card. He's playing as point guard and he shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's going to be weird. I think he's got to go to a team where they've got solid veterans. Because he definitely, I would say, needs some mentoring to a degree on what shots to take. And I feel like a lot of his basketball career, he's been the focal point of a team, basically. So it'd be kind of nice to see him go somewhere where he can kind of relax almost in a way. I would say somewhere, maybe Charlotte's got Rozier and Graham that he could potentially learn from. But
yeah, well,
I don't see Graham as a starter, though.
Yeah, that's
outside of potentially Golden State would be where I would want.
That's one thing I think about him is like, you look at this draft and like a lot of people are like, it's not the most talented, it's not the best draft. And like, I agree with that from a superstar perspective, because there aren't a lot of guys in this draft that are going to be the clear number one guys.
Especially when we look at past drafts.
Yeah, like Zion, Ja,
Luka,
RJ, Luka, even, I mean, not really Aiden that much, but like in general, like he's a guy that I think the Hornets should pick solely based off like the fact that they can build around him as their starting point guard with great playmaking. I mean, they have a lot of young guys that could really benefit from the playmaking that he brings. And the only problem I see with LaMelo is I can see him being a little arrogant with his shot selection, like you said. I can see him chucking it up for a little bit. But if they get a disciplined coach that LaMelo respects, like who's their coach right now? He's a good coach.
James Borrego.
Yeah, if he can be respected, if LaMelo respects his coach, I think that's going to be a really big part of this. Is if he's going to have the ability to kind of draw back. I need to take the 3-point shot from the logo. Like
I 100% agree. I think he needs some sort of leadership in whatever organization he goes to. And honestly, if that's Charlotte, it could even be Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gonna need a leader, whether that's a veteran on the team, a coach, someone in management. Just because I think, he's used to kind of running his own show. And
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and Charlotte does have a lot of cap this offseason. So they could sign potentially a big guy. But I do want to talk about LaMelo a little bit. He's a guy that I could see going third. You guys talked about Charlotte, but I definitely think that he has a really, really solid case of going number one to the Minnesota Timberwolves. He could fit in there very well. We saw D'Angelo Russell play some shooting guard in those couple games he played in Golden State. I think that would be something that's definitely that could definitely work with kind of LaMelo Ball at the 1, D'Lo at the 2. But LaMelo Ball he's 6'7". Let me see what he's 6'7", 190. He's a 7'3" wingspan as a point guard. That's just pretty crazy.
He's a 7'3". LaMelo has a 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah.
Holy, is he 6'5" or 6'8"?
6'7".
6'7".
As your point guard. So that makes me kind of excited for whoever's going to get him. But he's no stranger to the basketball community. Obviously, the brother LaMelo, son of LeVar, LiAngelo too.
Son of LeVar.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, this is something you guys didn't really talk about, but something that's gonna be huge for him is his experience. He's played in Lithuania, Australia, US. He played, he's just been all over, and he's all this before he was even 19 years old. So he's just a natural point guard. He's just such an elite passer. He's got a smooth handle. Just his offensive vision is just incredible. So I think his scoring would, like, just him in the pick and roll with Karl Anthony Towns would be nice. Or just he can't really go wrong with this pick. He does have some bust potential, though. I can see him being anywhere from an all-star point guard to a role player off the bench. But with that, I think his shooting percentages really need to improve. He's got a lot of work to do, especially defensively, but from a scoring standpoint. And, the defense would be kind of the number one reason why I'd be a little hesitant to pick him if I'm Minnesota, because they're already struggling with that a lot.
They already have Cat.
So
and D'Lo.
It's just, I mean, he's a guy who offensively you definitely can't go wrong with. He's got one of the highest ceilings with his length, his experience. it's just going to be something that's very interesting to watch. And I'm excited to see him play against like some NBA competition.
I am too. All right. Well, Peyton.
I would say he has the defensive tools to be a great defender, but I don't think I've seen him play defense.
He's like Zach LaVine.
So
and I wanted him to
play defense before he uses his tools. So I think he'll face a learning curve once he gets to the NBA for sure. So it might take a year or two. And
I think, in my opinion, the perfect place that he could have ended up was New York, but obviously they dropped pretty hard. Knicks fans, I don't know how y'all do it.
I
sure couldn't.
I'm glad I got out when I got out. Ooh.
I've got a deep respect for those guys. Just being a Knicks fan, that's just so tough. But I can see kind of some. This might sound kind of weird, but I can see some Luka in LaMelo Ball. Just because of his size, his playmaking. He's a difficult shot maker. He's got the experience overseas. He's a good rebounding guard, not explosive. I don't know. There's just a lot. I mean, of course, I'm not going to say he's playing at that level, but, like.
I just think, play-wise and physicality-wise, but, like, just their personalities are, like, I feel like opposite.
Yeah, I'm just saying from a play style standpoint.
All right. Okay, well, if we want to go ahead and move on, next guy, probably you could say 2 or 3, James Wiseman. A lot of people are skeptical about James Wiseman. I am pretty skeptical about James Wiseman. Just number one, for the fact that he's had, like, we have not seen him play a lot of basketball recently. I mean, he had that whole thing with Memphis where he got, like, suspended. And then in high school, he had something go on where, like, he transferred weird. A lot of people are relying on old tape, I think, from him. And he's just really – he just doesn't – I don't know. He just doesn't have a very high ceiling, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't seem like he can be that guy.
As a Memphis fan, I am really upset with how things transpired. That's the word I'm looking for. But I really, really, really want to see James Wiseman succeed, but I think he's probably the most overrated player in this draft class. People compare him to Anthony Davis. That doesn't even make sense. Like I don't know. I don't even see where that comes from. He played 3 games in college against literally no one close to his size. The best team he played was Oregon, and they lost. And he's obviously the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, so that has some overrated. That has potential to be overrated, but like his stats look good. I understand why he does have a lot of upside, especially as an interior defender, lob threat. But with that being said, I think it's ridiculous that some people consider him to be like the number 1 player in this year's draft. People consider him a skilled big man, but when I watch him, I really don't understand like the skill that people say he has. Like I watch his highlights in those games like over and over again. I watch his high school tape. But he just doesn't have his IQ for the game. It just seems so low. Like obviously he's a good interior defender, but on the perimeter he struggles. He's kind of like he's not really slow, but like laterally he's not that quick. Kind of like I would say like heavy footed. I think I can say this with some confidence that he's not gonna be an all-star, and I really don't see that ever happening, especially in today's era. A center is not going to really win you a championship over, say like a kind of like, you know what I mean? I can see him contributing, but he's not going to be able to like, I don't know. There's just so many holes I think in his game that I really don't think he can like remain in the game with. Like kind of towards the end with those holes. Like, it's just, he's got a lot of question marks that like, I want to see him succeed definitely. And I think he does have a lot of potential for sure. But, with those holes comes like, I don't see why any team, I mean, I can see teams picking him early just because of those 3 reasons I kind of say he was a little bit overrated but ultimately I don't really think he has all the potential.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest parts too is the fact that he didn't really play any competition ever that we've seen. I mean, he played in high school and was the number 1 overall recruit, but I mean, how tall was he in high school? Like, how much bigger was he than those bums he was playing in high school?
Yeah, and then here I just looked this up. The 2 of the teams besides Oregon that he played was South Carolina State They finished the season 11-18 as one of the lowest teams in D1 basketball. The second game was against UIC. I could not tell you what that stands for. They finished the season 18-17, and they were also in a mid-major conference. So
yeah,
he is
not good competition whatsoever.
Yeah.
One thing I would want to add about Wiseman getting picked early, the reason I think that he would have potential at all to get picked early, there's a lack of centers in this draft. It's a very guard-heavy draft. I would say that's one of the few reasons he gets picked early, just because there's such a large just difference in the amount of guards and bigs in this draft. And he's one of the few centers that, is really even in this draft. I would say, I want to make sure I pronounce this right, so I'm looking at my sheet. It's like Onyeka something.
Onyeka Kongwu from
but he's like 6'9". Like, I don't know if he's what.
Bro, he's cold though. We'll talk about him.
I do want to say this about
we can go to him next, but
we can.
I think the reason Wiseman won't get picked early is just because of that.
And
I will say one thing I see in Onyeka, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, it's a little bit of Bam Adebayo to a degree.
Definitely.
I feel like he's a really good face-up. We're just going to totally switch to Onyeka, whatever his last name is. And
I still have. Yeah.
All right, you can add.
Well, I was going to say something, but I kind of. One thing. Another reason I can see him getting picked early. That's kind of what you're talking about. But usually, I would say that if you have a pick this early, you don't really address team needs, and you kind of go for the best player overall. But with a team like Golden State, especially if they keep their pick, I can see them trading it easily, and then that's a whole nother story. But if you're kind of addressing needs, Golden State's going to be a title contender, and a player like the biggest hole they have is their center position. And kind of going with a guy like Wiseman, who's really athletic. He doesn't hit the three ball, or he can, but it's not like it's not like
crazy
the other guys. But he does provide some like very good interior defense. I just think he would fit out of all the teams. I feel like he'd fit pretty well on the Warriors. I thought he would fit well on the Pistons, but they fell too. Kind of John Henson's the starting center, so really nowhere to go up from there. So yeah, that's basically all I got on Wiseman. But I do really, really, really want to see him succeed.